Welcome back to another video, and today, like I promised, I will be going over the newly made Deadpool and Wolverine action figures I've built. I did have to take apart the Leopard and a bit of the Iron Giant, so if you watched my other video, maybe you'll feel sad, I don't know, but I think this was worth it. So let's get started. So first we'll be talking about Wolverine, just because this was the first one I made, and I do think it's one of my favorite action figures. So it's kind of hard to get angle just right. Maybe we can use... There we go. Alright. So Wolverine, this action figure. I mean, it's very posable. I think that's something we should start with. It's got a lot of joints. You can pose a lot. We have some foot joints right here, and then you can move this boot part. And this is very cool. There isn't too much. This one, unlike the Deadpool one, this one is mostly just an action figure. I mean, if you wanted to, I guess you could take the claws off. You can take these off. So, I don't know, maybe you want that. I'm not very good at making hands, so these don't look amazing. And then, so, yeah. The head, I do really want to talk about the head. I think that's one of the more important things. Just because this was a very, I'm very proud of how I ended up building this. It does use this, as you can see, it plugs into right there, and that's how you can get some spin to it. But if you look at the head, it's got a lot of sculpting. Here, we can take a couple of these pieces off. This top one kind of really opens it. And it uses these little studs with a bar coming out. And then a stud with a hole in it, and these little just curved kind of pieces. I don't know. Yeah, camera's falling over. But yeah, it gets the sculpt. I do wish I could do the eyes, but it's kind of hard to do that without making it look too thick or just weird. Uses these pieces, snot pieces, but very, but on multiple sides, and some flat pieces, and I use these to cover up the sides, and you can pop that right back on, and boom, Wolverine. And something else I want to talk about is the chest. This is more of a plate than compared to the actual build. It also goes for the back. It's just a plate. And this is the back of the minifig. I did find it hard to kind of cover up the gray, and I think it still looks good on Wolverine, but on Deadpool it's horrible. It's very gray in the back. I'm not the biggest fan of the back of Deadpool. And really, there isn't too much to say about these. They're action figures I made out of Lego. I mean, they have some articulation. I guess I did put clips on each of their hands, so they can still grab stuff, but very posable. Definitely get it into some poses if you wanted to. Kind of. I'm not very good at posing or anything, but maybe, I don't know, you know, something like this. Very simple poses. One thing I do like about it is that I ended up making it so if you wanted to have just the legs completely straight, they don't connect, but they fit against each other very nicely. So if you're having trouble trying to get the legs straight, you just have to press it up against one of the pieces. And yeah, it also covers up quite well. Here's the back. Very basic. Maybe a top view, bottom view. Working with the pieces I have, I think this is definitely one of my best action figures. I do wish I could show you guys some of the other action figures I've made, because I've made some cool ones, but I didn't take pictures of them, and I've mostly forgotten how to build them. I could try, but they'll probably end up being different from the original. But this is Wolverine. He looks good. Nothing else to say about him. Next, we have Deadpool, and he is a lot more fun. But I do have a lot of things I don't like about him as much. So let's get started. My chair's rubbing it up against stuff. Sorry. So for Deadpool, I think the legs, I'm not the biggest fan of them. I think because they don't match Wolverine's, because I didn't have as many of these 1x3s, so I did end up using 1x4s, and I think it does cover it up, but I'm not the biggest fan with how it kind of thickens it, and I feel like Wolverine should be a bit bigger than Deadpool. So yeah. But other than that, both of these are based off of the comic versions instead of the movie versions. Right after I make this video, I'm going to start working on the movie versions. So this will be the end of the comic versions. So, which is why Deadpool might look a little different. It's just red with a bit of black everywhere. Alright, so other than that, I think Wolverine took a lot longer, but is mainly because he was the first one I built, and I think Deadpool, it took me maybe like one night to do it, so he was a lot easier. He has a lot of weapons. We have the swords here, and I do wish I could make the handles longer, but the pieces I was using for the handles, I ended up using for the guns, which I'll show you in a second. But I do like the swords. You can hold them in the clip hands. So, very cool. I'm not going to try to pose him because, I don't know, it's a little hard to do. But yeah, I think he is still... he is posable, I just don't feel like doing it. Or do I? Yeah, so, I mean, he's posable. You know, I'm not very good at posing. I don't enjoy it as much. I do think animating with these would be a lot cooler, just because of the more joints and more positions you can do. But it'll definitely take more time, so... So, for his next accessory, I gave him these guns, and normally, this piece isn't supposed to fall off, but this one doesn't like to stay on. This one, though, if you just twist it off, it'll come off. The guns themselves, I made them dark gray, but then I tried to give them a lot of the silver pieces to make them, you know, look better. Definitely makes them look... No, I was going to say more realistic, but they don't look that good. But I like them. I think they came out well. Now, for Deadpool, another thing I want to talk about is his back, which, like I said before, I didn't like this one. I didn't like how I didn't have more red, I guess snot pieces. They technically are, but... mostly, you know, something like this, those pieces. So I didn't have a lot of those, which I think definitely messed it up a bit. And I'm not the biggest fan of that. Definitely wish I had more of these, but what can you do? So, and for his swords, you can place the swords on his back. There's a little piece right here. And it's a little hard to do. So, well, it's not hard, but it can get annoying to place his swords on there. It's nothing too fancy, just place them on like that. And they fall off. It's a very bad method. I'll probably improve it on the movie version. But something I want to talk about is his head. And it is very similar to Wolverine's. But I definitely like this one a lot more. So if we take off the covering pieces, you can see what it mostly is. It is mostly these pieces. Once again, he uses these studs with a bar coming out, some studs with a hole in them, and these pieces we saw earlier. I do admit I gave this one a neck. I think it was just how it looked better with the neck because of how long the eyes ended up becoming. You can see they're 2 studs longer. So definitely thought this was the way to go. Won't go back together. Whoops. And then I used these pieces, which are the closest thing I had to the same pieces as I used as Wolverine, but then also they covered it a lot more. So, alright, so I used this, which not only it covers up the top, but it also kind of puts a little red in between the eyes. Not a lot, it's not very noticeable, but I like it. And then for the back, I just used something like this, which covered it up quite nice. Then you can pop it right back on, and you got yourself Deadpool. And like I said before, this is based off of the comic compared to the movie, which I will be making. So, Deadpool and Wolverine. I like them. Definitely very detailed, doesn't show a lot of the gray from the joints. Very posable. I'll definitely make a few short films with the comic ones and the movie ones. There's nothing else to say. Very cool. I like them. Hope you like them. This video wasn't the most exciting, mainly because I didn't prepare a script. I just talked about the things I wanted to talk about, so sorry if it got a little boring. Hope you like them. Please like and subscribe. And if you subscribe, you can say you did it before. It's cool. Have a good day.